Welcome to the Sip and Chat. This is Marlene of Love Marlene 411, and welcome to today's podcast. I really do appreciate you. I see we have Flurk. Hey, Flurk, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday to everybody. Happy May 2nd. Um, If you have not hit the like already, please hit the like. Share this out. Today's going to be a very special sip and chat. Today's sip and chat is dedicated to my mom and my brother. Any who don't know the deal, they don't know the story. Today is 7 years today since my mom passed away, and it is also 3 years since my brother passed away. So they passed away on the same day, just different years. And I wanted to talk about grief and pain, and how today on the Sip and Chat. In Okay, let me know if you can hear me. Is there sound now? Please let me know in the chat. Can you hear me by putting a 1 in the chat? I hope that there's sound now. I apologize for those of you. Oh, it's better now? Awesome. Thank you so much, Fleur. Well, let me start off from the beginning. So, today's a special day. With the I dedicate today's sip and chat to my mom and my brother. They passed away on the same day, just different years. My brother passed away May 2nd of 2021, and my mom passed away May 2nd of 2017. I wanted to talk today about grieving because everybody processes grief in a different way. And over here on the Sip and Chat, we talk about very important topics. And to all of you loved ones, to anybody who is experiencing grief of somebody that they love, my condolences are with you. It doesn't matter how many years it is. It could be 1 year or it could be 50 years ago. The pain never goes away, but you do learn healthier ways to cope with it. And I can say that after 7 years of losing my mom, I I have healthier ways to cope with it. I remember in the beginning just, being numb to it, in shock, and being angry at the world. And then it got to the point where I could get through the day. After maybe about a year, I could get through the day without crying. Then it got to where I could think about happy memories, because in the beginning it's only the shock and the pain of reliving the day over and over again. And then you get to the point where you can talk about how you feel. So let's get into today's topic and discussion. I put the link in here for my co-host, Miss Nexie, whenever she pops in. That link is for Miss Nexie, please. Um, to join on the discussion. So I'm going to start off by talking about grief. And we all handle grief differently. Every single one of us. No two people handle their coping skills the same way. Some do things differently. Everybody handles things differently, or some people, like myself, just don't handle it. And that's what we want to avoid, loved ones. We want to avoid um, doing things in a way that will be harmful to ourselves. And when I say harmful, I mean stuffing down the pain. I did that for a little bit, not just with my mom and my brother, but with other people before them that had passed on. I stuffed down the pain. I ignored it. I didn't want to talk about the situation because pain, it's easier to ignore pain than to face it, to confront it of what's hurting you because you have to talk through the pain. And we really don't want to come to grips the reality of someone not being here anymore. And I want to reassure you that however it is that you're grieving, all that matters is that you are grieving, that you're taking time to cope with this loss in a healthy way. And getting a therapist really helped me to be able to come to grips with, the loss, because there's a lot of ways that you could be handling this situation. In a toxic way, you become very angry, you snap at every single individual, or you get to where you can't even cope with life. You isolate yourself completely, 100%. You stay at home. You don't have friends anymore. You just live in a little cocoon in a little shell away from everybody because your pain is too great. And for some, they get involved in some vices like drinking, drugs, self harming behaviors like overeating, getting involved in taking pills, or just toxic behavior, not taking care of themselves anymore. Those are some of the toxic things. And I found myself in that category. I remember when my mom first passed away, I still was doing what I needed to do because of course I had bills to pay, but it didn't mean I was actually showing up for myself. I stopped really the personal care that I should have, taking care of myself, taking care of my hair, my skin, my teeth, going to appointments, because what it was is I was functioning, quote unquote, by, going to my job. But when it came to how my appearance, making sure I was eating properly or drinking, no, I just immersed myself 100% in, okay, let's put on this mask and pretend that we're okay for 8 to 12 hours. And then when you get home, you just fall apart. And that's what I was doing every day for hmm, at least 9 or 10 months. I would get up Monday to Friday, go to work, put on this mask, smile in front of everybody. But inside, I was dying, throughout the day. I would shed some tears, but I never let anybody know I was shedding tears. I would bring a box of tissues. I would bring Visine drops so that nobody would see my eyes were red. I even had some makeup that I would put on my nose so that my nose didn't appear red. So I was hiding my pain um, to for everybody, but myself, the one that was the most important. Hey, realist one, how are you doing? Welcome. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. How are you doing? Happy Thursday and happy new month to everybody. I really do appreciate every single one of you for your support. Hold on 1 second. And I was putting everybody ahead of myself. I really was. Um, I put everybody. I just got myself busy in activities. I poured myself into work. I poured myself into helping others and giving back. I was doing so much for everybody but myself. So I wasn't taking care of me. I had a lot of toxic behavior. You know, I was giving to everybody, I was doing everything for everybody, but I wasn't doing anything for myself. I wasn't giving myself any love. I wasn't giving myself a break. I think at that time, probably at least 8 months in, when my mom passed away, I didn't even shed a tear yet. And that's not normal. That's not normal. And when I say shed tears, I mean giving myself the opportunity to cry like I needed to. I would be at work. I went back to work after 3 days. Yes, you all heard me. I went back to work after 3 days after my mom passed away. So I really and honestly didn't give myself an opportunity to grieve like I should. Honestly, my mind told me that I should have canceled work and just quit that job and gave myself an opportunity to heal because I had a job that was very insensitive to my feelings. They didn't care anything about me. They said, "When am I coming back to work?" After one day, my mom, I can never forget. My mom passed away on a Wednesday, and they expected for me to be back to work on Tuesday. Very insensitive to my feelings, and that should have been my red flag to walk away. But I didn't know myself then like I know myself now, and able to set up boundaries and tell them, I need more time, or just put in my notice that I was not going to return. And I feel that it's so valuable and important to respect yourself and allow yourself to feel how you feel. And many of us put on this facade, this fakeness, this mask because, you still have life, you still have a family, you still have responsibilities. And it kind of seems like you, where do you fit in? You know, even though you could be a mother, you could be a father, you could be a friend, you could be an uncle or whoever, or you're a friend to somebody, but you also have to remember how to be a friend to yourself and love yourself. But um, let's also talk about, the differences in handling grief and coping with the grief. Some of us that we want to communicate how we're feeling. Some of us. It took me a little while for that part to get acclimated to even want to say out of my mouth, in the acceptance part that they were no longer here. Like I said, I was still, after a year, I was still in the fetal position crying for my mother, still, even though a year had passed. I believe it was probably around the 2 year mark where I was able to say my mom's name or to say mother without breaking down crying. So I know that my healing began around the 2nd year mark. But, getting back to today's discussion, um, some want to communicate how they're feeling, what they're going through, what they're dealing with. and some don't. Some people don't want to talk about it. They just they don't. But even if we are not one that want to communicate how we feel, if that's someone's way of coping and they want to talk about their feelings and what they're dealing with, we should let them. Let whoever um, express themselves however they need to, because it helps them as a part of their healing process. And we know over here on Love Marlene 411, we talk about healing from painful situations and traumas. And for many of us, losing a loved one is a traumatic event. It's something that changes your life. It really does. Grief, pain, loss, especially if you lost an individual in a very traumatic way, through a car accident, cancer, um, if they were unalived. There are certain those losses, those traumatic events take even more time to deal with and cope with. Not saying that a natural unaliving is, I didn't say unaliving, I mean a natural passing. They pass through normal means. That's not something hard to deal with. But my therapist told me that if you experience a loss that is not by natural means, it's through some traumatic event, it takes even longer for you to allow yourself to cope with that loss. Probably 5 years to 10 years before you're probably able to, get through the day without crying. So, some people, they want to communicate what they're going through and what they're dealing with, and others don't. And we have to just allow them to feel how they feel and allow them to go through what they're going through. And it did. It took me a long time to want to communicate how I was feeling. And I think for some, it may seem like I was being very selfish, but I was a person that I wanted to communicate, but not with everybody. Just the people who were important to me, like my one or two of my sisters and nobody else, because we had already had a very close bond and tie. And I would communicate how I was feeling with my best friend and nobody else. Everybody else I cut off. I didn't want to talk to the person I was in a relationship about it. I didn't want to, tell talk to anybody else about how I was feeling. But I knew around the 2.5 year mark, I was ready to start opening up and sharing what I was dealing with and going through, because I knew that if I was grieving and I was going through something, I know that my siblings and my friends and anybody who loved them was as well. So around that time, I stopped thinking just about myself and started thinking about how does this affect others. Now, we also want to talk about, some people, you know, like I said, we all handle grief differently. And for some just want to be left by themselves. They just like, just leave me alone. Don't talk to me, because they need that time to be able to think, to be able to just go through what they're going through. And maybe they don't want anybody to see them crying or angry. They need that time by themselves to handle the situation and come to grips with it. And I was not that person, but I do respect anybody who wants to be by themselves. Hey, Boss Life Online, how are you doing? Welcome in. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I hope all is well with you. Some people just want to be by themselves, right? They just want to isolate themselves from others. And yeah, I that wasn't my thing. I didn't just want to isolate and be by myself, but I can understand and I can respect the ones that do. Some people need that time to be by themselves. They need it. So, it's about respecting boundaries of others when we're an adult. If that person wants to talk, then let them talk. If that person doesn't want to talk, just be there and support them, support them mentally and emotionally for whatever they're going through. Because every single person handles grief differently. Now, but there is a word of caution when we talk about, isolating. Oh, you're good? Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Boss Life Online. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your support. And to everybody who is here, could you please hit the like? I'd really appreciate it. Some people just want to isolate, and that's okay. We can't force people to handle life how we handle life. Some people want to talk about how they feel. Some people want to cry. Some people are not people who are naturally inclined to crying. But just because that may be weird to you or that's not what you do, allow people to feel how they feel. If that's what helps them talking about it, if that helps them, then let them do it. I'm at this space where talking about my pain, talking about my hurt and my traumas help me to be able to, I'm trying to think of the right word to say, but it helps me to process that I'm not the only person, and that I'm human and I go through things just like everybody else. And it's okay to talk about things, because many people in urban communities, in the Black community, minorities, tend to think that we can stuff down our pain, we can ignore it, we can gloss over things, we can ignore the elephant in the room, the monkey on our back, until one day reality comes knocking on the door and you have a breakdown. And that's just the end of it. Our body can only take so many things, and we can ignore things all we want to, but it doesn't go away until we face it. And I say to all of you loved ones who is going through something, going through a painful situation, coping with loss, that you're not alone. You know, we feel that we're alone when we don't have sometimes the support that we want, or we don't have those who are processing things like us. But that's one of the reasons why it's so important to join these support groups, to join, talking to a therapist and a mentor and a life coach, getting those things and using tools to be able to cope with your day-to-day life. And there's nothing like it. Even though I really do appreciate spending time with my family, and processing everything, and for that allowing them to say what they want to say. But it's nothing like going to a support group, and being around healthy individuals. Hi, Miss Betty. How are you doing? Welcome in. Happy Thursday. I appreciate you being here. I hope you're doing well. I had to allow myself to feel everything that I was feeling. I had to allow myself to also, when I became healthier in my mindset and not just being selfish and thinking about myself, also allowing people in my life that have been affected by it as well to feel how they feel. Everybody handles their pain differently. Everybody copes differently. And also, I had to remember that not everyone copes. That's another thing. When we talk about handling grief differently, some people do not cope well. And I hate to say this, but I did say before the live that this was going to be a trigger warning. Some people, when it comes to grief and loss, if they were really close, they want to follow right behind that person. Um, when they are gone, they feel like following right behind them and say, okay, I'm next then. And to anybody who has ever felt that way, you're not alone in that. I felt that way. I felt the biggest pain in my life when my mom left. The biggest pain, the biggest pain, the biggest hurt, the biggest sadness. And there's nothing that can fill in that pain, no matter how much I talk about it, no matter how much I think about happy memories, no matter how much. Um, it's just nothing is like the closeness that you experience with certain individuals in your life, with people that you love, but you cannot stay in that space and not move on with your life. Life moves on. Life continues, whether we're doing well in life or whether we're not doing well. Life still continues. So we just have to try our best to move on and take small little baby steps. For me, one of the first things that helped me is just getting up and getting out of bed. It may sound weird to some people, but just getting up and taking a shower and putting myself together, changing your clothes, taking care of your personal care, brushing your teeth, and getting a small amount of food inside. Um, that's the that was the hardest thing for me because I was in that state when my mom just passed away. I just wanted to let the days and the weeks and the months go by and ignore my own self. Don't care anything about myself. I didn't care about eating. I didn't care about my personal care. I didn't care about anything. I just wanted to be left alone, and I was just in this. I fell down the rabbit hole of pain. Like I was completely immersed in pain. All I could think about is how much I hurt, how sad I was, how much I missed them, and I was reliving like a scratch record, losing her over and over and over again every single day. And I knew that I needed help, and the only thing that helped me was first admitting that I needed help, and then being courageous enough to seek help through a therapist. And I know that therapy is not for everyone, but I am saying in this discussion what helped me. What helped me may not help you, but I'm sure that it will help many. Yes, yes, move on. It does not wait. It doesn't. Life doesn't stand still just because we're hurt, just because we're sad, just because we don't want to talk about things. We have to move on with our life. Yes, Gio, grief, loss, and pain is so hard. You have to keep going or you will waste away. And that's one of the things that I had to learn for myself when talking about we all handle grief differently. For me to move on with my life, I had to go about processing who I was without them. And I don't know if anybody has ever thought about that, but for me, I only had defined myself as a daughter. I defined myself as a sister. But then what happens when you're no longer a daughter or you're no longer a sister to certain individuals? Then who are you? And I had to get about processing that I am not just a daughter or I am not just a sister. I am also precious. I'm actually a very important individual. I'm a woman of power and worth. And to all of the men, you are a man of power and worth. And until you recognize that about yourself, that I have value inside of myself, even though they are no longer here. And that's the reason why some people just want to end their life because they feel that they have no meaning or they're nothing without them. And that's not true. We still are valuable and important, even in the face of loss and deep pain and hurt. But we have to resolve, who am I without them? Who are you? Who are you? You are precious. You're important. You're special. You have worth, and you have gifts and talents. And I had to go about processing that for me. and actually believing that. Because even though I said I love myself, and I hear a lot of people say that I love myself, I'm important, I'm precious, and all these things, and I just roll my eyes because I didn't feel that. I didn't believe it. And until you believe in your own worth, until you have confidence in yourself that even though I love them, I am not defined by them. And that was invaluable to my mindset. That was invaluable to me getting about moving on with my life and start, you know, forming what is my new norm, what is my new life. For a long time, I would, because I would talk to my brother every single Tuesday at lunchtime. And even though that that person isn't alive, till this day, every time it's a Tuesday at lunchtime, I still in my heart want to take my phone and call him. I know that that sounds weird, but I still have that feeling. So, something that I did that really helped me with that grief and loss, and processing it instead of ignoring it or being sad, I shifted that pain into something that would help me by, I took those moments that I would have called, and I did something that usually we would like to do together. My brother was a very fit person. He was a firefighter, just a very athletic person. He was very big into fitness and exercise, just like my father was. And I think that when I started to get back into me, I felt like the best way for me to honor him was by taking care of myself. He was a fit person, he was into nutrition and diet and exercise. So I started to take care of myself, and I would, go to the nutrition store, like the health food store. I would go and buy fruits and vegetables, and then I would sit in my car and I would talk to him, like, where I remember this was your favorite fruit. And for me, I processed it like I was still being able to talk to him because I was doing what I normally would do, whether he was here or not. And for me, that was putting my oxygen mask on for the first time. If we don't allow ourselves to feel, to feel pain, to feel hurt, then we're just going to ignore it, and we're going to suffer. And I had to learn, within myself, that it was okay. It was okay that I was going through this loss. It was okay that I missed them, but I had to find a different way to channel my pain, not by crying, but do something powerful, do something good with my life, start living, and then honor them with that. So, also with that, some people, they handle grief by giving back to the community, and that's their way of grieving. They get immersed in a cause. And I think that was the reason why I started my business, not for my mom and my brother per se, but my dad was very much an advocate for children, for those who have special needs. So I do something, and I give back to the community for DV situation, and for you know, people who have special needs. I give back to the community, and I feel when I do that, I have a cause. I have a reason. I feel like I honor them by doing something good with my time. Instead of sitting there feeling sorry for myself and crying, I pour my energy out in a positive way. And every time, before I go into the event or whatever it is that is happening, I always have that conversation, and I'll say, like, Dad, I know that you would be proud of me right now, or Mom, you would be proud of me, or my brother, and even my daughter that I lost through miscarriage. I honor them by certain things that I do and give. When I give to the community, for me, that fills up my cup, and I honor them at the same time, because if we don't find a way to cope with the pain, we're going to find other ways to put a band-aid on it by, for some people it's drinking or smoking or getting involved in substances or being angry, or eating their pain away with food. So whether you believe it or not, until you find a healthy outlet to you know pour your energy into, you're going to pick up something to cover up that pain, to numb it. And we don't want to numb the pain. We want to, walk through the pain. And every time I volunteer, every time I give back, I know that I am giving back to my loved ones. I'm honoring them because it's something that they would like, they would appreciate, and I'm grateful for that. Yes, Gio, thank you so much for dropping emojis. You all are welcome to drop as much emojis as you would like. So that's one of the things that I do. I get immersed into a cause. I give back where I can. I volunteer my time for certain events and charities, and that helps me to be able to, is a part of my grieving process. Every time I smile and I say, they will be proud of that, or they would like this event, or they would like this cause, they would feel proud in that. So that's something that I do. I'm not saying that it's going to help you, but maybe it will. I have these conversations and these podcasts in hopes that something that I say resonates with someone. It's something that, oh, I never thought about trying that or doing that. Maybe that would help me. I hope so. But I'm never going to discount the power of therapy. I never will, because therapy changed my life. Um, in a way that nothing else could. Until I learned how to be healthy and take care of me and love me, I couldn't show up in this world healthy. And I feel that even way before, the traumatic events happened to me in my life with loss, I had lots of issues from the past, from my childhood, that I was stuffing down. So you may go into therapy for one issue. And for me, it was going in trying to heal my head and my heart from the pain. But also, I was trying to go in to help my siblings who weren't coping with the loss. So I thought I was going in with noble causes to support others, but actually, I was the one that needed help. It's interesting how, when it's time for you to deal with something, I feel that the universe or God or whatever it is that you call, your higher power, I feel like it's going to shift and to make you face it. He's going to move something around that you have nowhere to go, nowhere to run, but it's like, sit down and you're going to face this. Um, and that's what I'm saying, is that we all handle grief differently, and some definitely need a therapist. Some people need a therapist to support their pain of coping. They do, and there's no way around it. There's no way around the pain of loss. There's no way around what you're dealing with and going through. But all that's important is that you go and you show up. I remember going to therapy for a very long time, and I wasn't into it. I would go and I would listen to what they were saying. I went to therapy for almost 7 years. And I feel like the first year and a half or so was just me going just so that I could leave the house and not think about my pain. Going to therapy gave me a reason to get up, you know, take care of myself, take a shower, and get out the house and not just be in my bed in the fetal position, feeling sorry for myself. Yes, therapists are good to talk things out with. And I think everybody needs to be able to just brain dump. That's what they call it. Brain dump every pain, every struggle, every hurdle, every burden that you're dealing with, and not feel judged. Because even though my siblings would listen to me sometimes about the pain I was dealing with and going through, but because they're not a professional, they don't know how to give you the life skills to support you. Okay, what could help me? Because many times they may want to help you, but because they're not a professional and they don't have the skills and the knowledge, they don't know how to give you what you need. And I'm grateful for the day that I walked through that door and I had a good therapist that was, I went in focusing on assisting my siblings when actually I needed to work on myself because there was also some issues um, underneath that pain of the grief that I needed to deal with. And that's one of the reasons why I went to therapy for 7 years. I needed more than just support to cope with my mom and my brother. I also needed to be supported in how I treat myself, and toxic habits. Um, y- um, toxic habits and certain things. I had so much toxic things that I was doing. I remember for so many years, I was putting hmm, I was putting everybody above myself. I didn't know how to set boundaries and enforce them. I didn't know how to mean what I said and then follow through. That even though I had the tools right that told me, okay, you need to set boundaries, you need to tell people how you feel, but at the same time, I would tell people how I feel, and then I would go back and try to control, which I was trying to change. So I say this because a lot of people think when you go to therapy that it makes you perfect. Therapy doesn't make you perfect. Therapy helps to give you the tools in order to support you being successful in your life. And it's up to us to use the tools that we have. And I definitely did not want to use the tools at certain times because I didn't believe in what my therapist was saying to me. I still wanted to do what I wanted to do. Hey, Miss Tamika, how are you doing? Welcome. I really do appreciate you being here. Happy Thursday. Miss Chio says it does not matter how long it takes to love yourself. That's what it takes. But eventually you will. Keep going. Wished I could have stayed 7 years, but my therapist said I was ready in 5. Oh, okay. Yeah, it depends on what you were. You were probably doing what your therapist told you to do. I didn't start doing what my therapist told me to do until about around the 5 year mark. I just started to listen and started to slowly enact and put into action some of the things that she was telling me to do. So, all of that took about 2 years before I was good after I started actually listening to. And I think that's one of the things when we get tools from our therapist, uh, listen to them, listen to those tools and tips. They're there for a reason. I used to say, "Oh, my therapist doesn't know what she's talking about." I used to say it all the time. I used to lie to my therapist. I used to lie like a rug. Oh, yeah, I'm doing okay. And everything is great with me. And I just came from being in the bed crying my eyes out. And she would look at me like, the, why is your nose red? Why are your eyes red if you're doing so good and you're so happy? So I had to learn in my grief process that I had to do, I can't lie to myself. I mean, I can't lie to her, but I shouldn't lie to myself. And that's one of the things that many of us do. We lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that we're okay when we know that we're not okay. And we'll lie to our therapist and tell them, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. Everything's awesome. Everything's going very well. And then she would just sit whenever my therapist sat back in her chair, like leaned back and crossed her legs and took out her pen and started writing on her notebook. I knew that that meant probably two or three more therapy sessions. I already knew that. I was like, oh no, what did I say or do right now? But all of that was good for me because we think sometimes that we get used to fooling people in our life. You get used to fooling your siblings or your job or other people, but therapists, they can see through that smoke screen. And even though you may say things with your words, but your body language tells the truth. Like you're saying this, but that's just lip service. I know that that's not how you really feel. So explain. So communicate what you're really dealing with and going through. Gio says, laugh out loud, girl. I said the same thing. She didn't know the pain I feel. I am not going back, but I did always. I know I used to get so mad when she would tell me the next step that I needed to work on for the healing process. And I was like, she don't know what she's talking about. She don't walk in my shoes. She don't know what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. And I found out much later that my therapist has been through a lot of things. But of course, being a professional, you wouldn't know that. But my therapist is an accomplished writer, and she shared very openly some of the things that she went through in her life, some things that were very traumatic. One of the reasons why she became a therapist, because um, helping other people, it for her is putting on her oxygen mask. That's how she gives back, by supporting other people for their mental health, for their physical, emotional, and processing things, and getting proper ways to cope with life. Thank you so much, Boss Life Online. I really appreciate it. Um, and I know that this is a topic that can be triggering for many people. I know that. I know that not everybody wants to talk about loss, and not everybody wants to talk about pain. I know that. Um, honestly wasn't supposed to be doing this topic because I told my co-host Miss Nexie, she thought that I meant I wasn't going to do it because I said I'm not sure if I want to do it, but she should be on her way in a little bit, and we'll continue the discussion from where she is. But for myself, I had to learn how to grieve how I needed to grieve. And for me, I needed to have somebody listen to me just talk. I think for the first at least 5 or 6 months, my therapist just let me talk and she didn't interrupt me. And that's what I needed. And sometimes when we have people in our life that, yes, they listen to us, but they listen to us with judgment, or they listen to us, or not really listen to us, but they hear what we're saying and they pass judgments, or they tell you you shouldn't feel that way, or it's not really that way, or you shouldn't think that way. Whereas the healthy way is allowing somebody to feel how they feel, no judgment, no not feeling like some type of way, not trying to control their emotions and their feelings, but allowing them to be who they are and letting them walk through their pain to get to their healing. And everybody who experiences loss needs to be able to handle the grief the way that they need to handle grief, not the way that maybe we want to handle grief, because not everybody, like I said earlier, everybody is not a person that wants to talk about how they're feeling. Not everybody does. Some people just want to get the moral support, right? They just want somebody to be there, like someone to just be there to spend time and spend some quality time with them, whether they talk about it or whether they don't talk about it, but just somebody being there for them. That is how they cope with somebody, just supporting them how they need support. And one of my siblings is that way. They don't want to talk about the loss, but they just want for us to spend some time together, just hanging out, just being, whether we're at home or whether we go out somewhere. And I know that that is their love language as well. They are a person who is quality time. That's their love language. So it's no different when it comes to grieving. They need someone that will just spend time with them and whatever and do whatever it is that they need. So that's what I said. We're all different. And I'm not a person that needs to get out to be able to cope with my loss. I'm more of a person that I just want to for someone to listen to me while I talk about how I'm feeling, because every day is different. And I don't know who this message is going to be resonating with, but um, every day is going to be different. Some days you're going to want to talk about how you're feeling. You're going to want to express yourself, and some days you won't. Some days you're going to isolate yourself. Some days you're going to cry. Sometimes you're going to be mad as I don't know what. You're going to scream and be upset and angry and frustrated, and you're going to want that person back in your life. But that's when you use the tools that you receive when you go to therapy. That's when you you process it in a healthy way instead of going and doing something that is toxic to your life. That's when you get up and you go about using the tools that you got, giving back to the community, getting involved in a cause, getting busy, um, communicating, talking to either a therapist or a support group, but making sure you're communicating what you're dealing with and going through and not feeling that you have to experience the loss all on your own, because you don't. None of us have to experience loss on our own, and we're not alone. Even if you feel alone, you're not alone, because they have whole support groups on Facebook, on Instagram, on many different social media sites that you can join. And I'm telling you, from experience, that joining a support group in the beginning, I just would go to these online sessions and just be in the background listening. But when I started to hear other people talk about, it was a good day, it was a bad day, or whatever, I felt comforted in a way that I couldn't feel comforted just by talking to a sibling, because they had recovery, because they have been through therapy, they have healthier ways to cope with it. And that's one of the tips that helped me to be able to go out and to get involved in a cause, because something that I heard somebody in a support group say that helped them a lot. So I said, what will it hurt? I'll give it a try. And that it helps. But I'm not here to say that going to a therapist, going to a support group, giving back, doing kind deeds, acts of service is going to fill in the pain, because that's always going to be empty. That's always going to be a loss for you, but it's shifting your pain into your power, finding a passion in this life, something that your loved one was very interested in, and then go and volunteer your time and give to others that you can support. You may not be able to be in real time with that said person that has passed, but you can give and support somebody else who may be going through maybe what you went through years ago. For instance, I like to give back to people probably once or twice a year. I like to give back to people in my community to certain older ladies that have heart conditions. And every time I deliver a meal or I do something kind, a kind deed, go and get them groceries or something like that, I feel like I would be giving to my mother if she was still alive, if that makes sense. That's how it helps me. Hey, DJ Tanya, how are you doing? Welcome. For me, I feel like that's my way of giving back to her. It's when I go and I give to somebody who would be in her situation, I definitely feel like I'm giving to her. I'm giving her love like she would need to be loved if she was still around. And I think that's so special. So, find whatever it is helps you. And whatever helps you is that's what's important. Tanya says, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hope you're doing the same. I'm doing okay today, Tanya. One day at a time. Yes. Thank you so much for dropping emojis, Tamika, and everybody in the chat. You're welcome to drop emojis. One of the reasons why I want to have this conversation is because I know that many people who are in urban communities, many people who experience loss, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. They want to ignore the pain. And then they'll just start smoking, or they'll start drinking, or they'll start something. They'll start a quote unquote bad habit and think that they're doing well because, see, I'm fine. And you like to tell yourself that you're fine when you experience loss. And I'm here to tell all of you loved ones that it's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with not being okay. All right, everybody? It's nothing wrong with saying you're not okay. Hey, Miss Lynn Kits Cooking, how are you doing? Welcome. It's nothing wrong. Hello. Mega love shout out to you. How are you doing, Miss Lynn? Appreciate you being here. It's nothing wrong with saying you're not okay. It took a really long time for me to be in this space in my maturity and my womanhood to say I was not okay, that I was not coping well. I wasn't handling it well. And of course, when you get on the job, you have to function on the job. So of course, when I was at work, I knew how to put on that work plastic smile and the facade and pretend that I was doing great. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And inside I was crushed. Inside I was full of pain and hurt and sadness. And I had to allow myself to, okay, you still have to function, you still have life and bills. But after that, after I would leave work, I needed to get back into start doing some things. And I had to do more than just go to work and be at home. I needed a safe what do you call it, a safe place to release my pain and my suffering and my emotions. And I had to allow myself and tell myself that it's okay. um it's okay to not be okay. And I know many of us were raised like that in our childhood, to when you're a child that you don't express how you feel, you hide your emotions, you always tell everybody you're good even when you're not good, because you don't tell your business at home. You keep it to yourself. And that's one of the worst things that somebody can ever tell you. If you're not okay, you're just not okay. And there's nothing wrong with you feeling that way. But you have to get to the bottom of why you're feeling that way. Is it because you're feeling sad and you're grieving because you miss them? Or is it because of some other issue? Or is it because something triggered you? I know that in my grief process, when I would smell somebody who wore my mom's perfume, oh man, I can still remember when it was about a year and a half after my mom passed, and a lady walked past me with my mom's same perfume. And when I say I spiraled down, I was in the store and I had to go to the car and just let myself cry because I was like, "Oh my God, that's my mom's perfume." So you never know what is going to spiral you or trigger you, but it's now I have the tools when I start feeling that way, when I feel sad or when I feel like somebody looks like my mom or smells like her or would say something she said, I no longer let it make me sad. I acknowledge it, I speak it out loud. Oh, she looks just like mom, or that's mom's perfume and cologne. And in that way, I allow my mind to process it, that it's okay that you miss her. Or when I'm feeling some type of way or I feel sad in that moment, allow yourself to say it out loud. I miss whoever they are. It's okay. It's okay to say you miss somebody. We don't have to be tough and strong and ignore how we feel and be such a tough guy or a tough woman for everybody and not be okay for ourselves. Part of being okay is to allow ourselves to not be okay, to be upset, to be angry. And for me, picking up a sport, and I would definitely recommend boxing, or some sort of combat sport, something to where you have to be very, like, you have to exert a lot of energy vigorously. So something to where you can, like, really roar and get out what you're feeling like. And even sometimes I'll say, I miss you, like, why did you leave me? I needed you right now. So I in taking up a contact sport helped me because you're able to get out that pain and aggression without picking up a vice. So before, it used to be something to where I would pick up a bottle, I start drinking away my pain. And all that ever does is all the drinking does is make you drunk. It kind of numbs you for the moment to not think about it. But instead of putting a band-aid over that loss, how about doing something healthy for you? Getting that exercise, getting out in nature, going for a walk, taking care of yourself, giving back to yourself in those moments. It doesn't have to be even anything that costs money. Going for a walk is free, but doing something for yourself in those moments, I feel that it's very important to give back and to allow yourself to feel how you feel, that you don't have to be fake. And I know in the very beginning, when I lost my mom, I felt like it wasn't okay because it made my siblings uncomfortable that I talked about losing my mom. And I didn't understand it because I wanted to control how they were coping. Like, why don't you want to talk about it? Why don't you want to, you know, do something and get out and get into a cause? Because they were still grieving how they needed to grieve. So I had to learn that for myself too, is allowing for my siblings, allowing my friends, allowing anybody who was affected by the loss, letting them feel how they felt and not trying to control their pain, not trying to tell them how they should feel or how they should be dealing with it. However, somebody is coping with it, all we can do is be supportive and understanding, be there for them, check on them. Hey, I know this is the anniversary of the loss. I know this is the weekend, or how do you feel when the evening comes? Because I know for some that experience loss of a loved one, especially something like losing a spouse, they always say that the hardest times for them is the nighttime. And I never thought about that because I have never lost a spouse, but I can only imagine. I remember my mom saying that before my dad, when my dad passed away. She said that's the hardest part of grieving, is you could be fine all day, But then the nighttime, when you know that you're going to go to bed by yourself, that you know that your spouse won't be walking through the door to have dinner together. And I never thought about those things. So sometimes in talking, allowing that person to express themselves and to just talking, you don't give them any advice. I think that that's one of the most helpful things, is that sometimes people want to be supportive, but they don't know what to say. And I have to say that you don't have to say anything to somebody who is grieving. Just showing up, just a phone call, just a text. I was just thinking about you today. And that's it. Or let's go and grab a bite to eat, my treat. Or it's something special, something that they like to do, you know make them feel seen and heard. A lot of people only think about how a person is processing, w- you know up up leading to the funeral, and probably and the wake, and the going to uh the funeral home. They only think about those ways of supporting people. But I also say, is don't forget to support your loved ones and your friends on the anniversary of the loss, or every few days, and especially those who are older that have lost a spouse. you know Maybe sending a text, saying, good evening, I was just thinking about you, I hope that you're okay. Because that that would be a hard time for them. When I found out that it was difficult for my mom in the evening, and at that time I used to work nights. So that's when I had to switch so that I could support my mom. And I'm grateful that I did that, because she needed somebody to be there. So, I moved. I went back home. I went to live with her. I switched my job from night to days so that I could be home in the evening and give her the support that she needed. And I know that that's not everybody can't do that, but I'm grateful that I did what I did, because I always feel at the end of the day that you have to do the best that you can. And my best is not going to be somebody else's best. I just know that I can live with myself, because I know that I did what I should do. I know that I was able to serve her in the small ways that I could, by listening to her, by supporting her, being understanding, and just, you know, maybe that person may not want to cook or do laundry. So I did that for her, just making her feel comfortable. But also, the other people involved, when my brother passed, he left behind children, he left behind a spouse. So even though I experienced loss, it took me a little while to get out of that phase of not just thinking about myself. But after about a year and a half, I started to check on, my brother's nieces and nephews, and his wife, and other people, just to let them know that even though my brother isn't here, they're still important and valuable. And I just want them to know how that whatever it is that they're feeling, I'm here to support them. And a lot of people don't get that sort of support after the funeral, after the whatever the traumatic event. Most people only support for like that week of the funeral, or maybe a day or two after, but they don't think about them after that time. What about in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year? They still need support. They're still trying to cope with the loss. But a lot of people forget, because they get back to the day-to-day life, and that person just feels lonely and abandoned. That is one of the reasons why a lot of people will unalive themselves, not just when it happens, but maybe 6 months later. And I do believe that that's one of the reasons why my mom passed away 7 months after my dad, is because in the beginning, she was just grieving the pain, and no, not really talking about it. And I think in the seventh month, she just couldn't. her heart couldn't take it anymore. She was just too sad. And she told me something that I feel like that pain hurt me more than the pain of losing my dad, is seeing my mom miss her best friend. For me, that was a whole nother level of processing the pain, that I knew that she missed him, but I didn't think about that that was her spouse, that was her best friend. They had fathered, I mean, they had parented children together. They had got involved in many causes and charities and businesses together. And now all of that was left on her. She had all of the memories of that, but didn't have my dad. So I had to learn how to just step back and be supportive of what she needed, but also making sure that I took care of myself and what I wanted and what I needed and what was valuable and important to me. And sometimes the things that are valuable and important to you are not valuable and important to them, you know? And after I started to think about, my brother's wife and his children, I needed to also think about myself. So that's when I started getting involved in charities and giving back. And my brother, being a retired firefighter, I thought it was wonderful when my nephew became a firefighter. I feel like the the tradition of firefighting is in the family, because my brother and now my nephew is a firefighter. So, hopeful that after my nephew, somebody else will, another male in the family will also take on firefighting. It's just a hope I have. I would never say it, but I'm hoping, because that makes me feel good every time I see my nephew put on his firefighting outfit, or I see my nephew in the hat and the whole firefighting get up. I it brings me back to seeing my brother that way as well. So that in some type of way is helpful to me. Every time I see that others are moving on with their life, they're doing things that bring them joy and peace, I feel a certain amount of comfort in knowing that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one dealing with pain, and that life is moving on. And many times we feel like life has not gone the way we wanted it to go. I know for me, I was not expecting to lose my mom like I did. Um, it was 7 years ago. I was sitting in, I was working in a doctor's office at the time, and my brother called me and told me that mom was not doing good, to make my way to the hospital. And I just thought, because my mom has heart problems, I just thought it was that she was probably having some heart palpitations. No big deal, right? But I didn't know that at the time, when he said to make my way to the hospital, I didn't know that my mother had passed out. And on her way to the hospital, I didn't know that she had coded. Trigger warning, everybody. I didn't know that she had coded on her way to the hospital. So I make my way to the hospital, and because I was not informed of the condition of my mother, when they said that she was in, not the critical care, but she was in the ICU, that's when I was like, what is going on? And that's when I was told that she had coded and she was in a coma. And hearing that, it was like everything came down on me. And I still, till this day, can't get the picture out of, not the picture, like a scratch record. You relive the pain and you relive the trauma. I still can see when I ran into the ER and I saw them with the paddles and they were shocking her body and I saw her body jumping. I can't get that image out of my head. It's burned into my brain. And sometimes I still wake up with night sweats, having that nightmare that it just happened over and over again. And I try to, when I feel that way, when that comes on, I reassure myself of, how much my mother loved me and how important I was to her. So it's important that when you feel triggered or you feel like going down a rabbit hole and feeling sad, to not let yourself be overwhelmed by the pain and the grief, but remind yourself of the good memories that you had with that person, the things that you talked about. And for me, awakening my dreams was very helpful to me getting the help that I needed in coping with the loss. By giving back, I was able to cope by, talking about it. Like for me, talking about it, I talk about it on some platforms more than others, because I'm not just on YouTube, I'm also on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on various different social media sites. And for different sites, I do different things. And also with my business, I do that in more in depth. So for me, when I talk about how I cope with it, when I give motivational speeches or I talk with um, other victims of grief and loss, I feel that I'm helping myself first by putting on my own oxygen mask, but I'm also helping and assisting another individual, another loved one. And that's why I called this channel Love Marlene 411, because it was a call, because 411 is for non-emergency. And I wanted to put loved one because many of us did not feel loved or do not feel loved by certain individuals, whether it's in your family or your friends. But I wanted to talk about healthier ways to cope with and to talk about the things that we deal with and what we're going through, and that it's okay, that you don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to stuff down your pain, even if the people around you stuff down their pain or they have certain vices to be able to cope. You still can be healthy. You still can take care of you and do everything you need to do so that you are okay. Because that's what's really important and vital, is allowing yourself to feel how you feel. And that is what I think, where when everything shifted, it was just allowing myself to feel how I felt, and then that was it. That was it. So I just wanted to encourage anybody who is feeling sad, is feeling discouraged, is feeling like giving up in life, to talk to somebody, to talk to a therapist, to talk to a friend, and that they don't have to go through anything alone. Like I said, many times we don't have the positive support and encouragement. You just have to be tough and have to be strong. But there are also times that you have to allow yourself to have a place, to be a safe place where you can fall. You know, you have to have a safe place where you can fall. And for me, my safe place where I can fall is with my therapist, with my support group, and with my accountability partners and my great and awesome friends that allow me to vent, allow me to talk, allow me to feel how I feel. And everybody needs those people in life. And if you don't have those people, please join a support group. They're free. They have them on social media. You can just search in Google a support group for whatever it is, and it doesn't have to always be for loss. You could have there's support groups for those who are survivors of DV, SA, SM, um, those who had a traumatic and abusive relationship with a parent. Like there's groups for children of toxic parents. There's support groups for children of a parent that's been incarcerated their whole life. I've seen many support groups. So whatever is your personal situation and what you have gone through and dealt with, yeah, there is a support group for that. So don't feel that you're the only one going through it, and you're not. You're not the only one. There's always somebody that can be there for you and support you. But the thing about it is that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you don't tell anybody how you're feeling and what you're going through and dealing with, you will not get the support that you need and deserve. So um let yourself have that. Let yourself get help, get supported, and open up your mouth and say, you know what? I do need some help. I do need support. And it doesn't make you a weak woman, and it does not make you a weak man. It makes you strong because you understand your limits. And everybody has limits, everybody has feelings, everybody has emotions, everybody has things that happen to them that is beyond their control. But it's realizing that and being mature enough to say, I need some help. So I just wanted to have this conversation and tell you all, no matter what you have been through and dealt with, that you're not alone. You honestly and truly are not alone. And I wish the best for you. I wish the best for each and every one of you. And I wanted to have this conversation because I feel that it's so important to just say that. I feel strength, I feel power in saying that I survived the loss of my mother and my brother on the same day but different years. I feel strength in saying that I survived losing a daughter. I feel strength in saying that I survived losing a father to cancer. I feel strength in that. And I won't apologize for it because it's made me a stronger woman. It's helped me to be able to grasp how how fragile life is, how fickle life is, and that life is here today and gone the next. So it's made me come to the space to where I realize that if I want to do something in life, hurry up and do it, make it happen. And it's all up to me how my life is going to go. And you can complain about your life. And yes, you can have some hard cards being dealt your way. You can experience so much loss and so much pain, and you can be hurt. But there are ways to help you to cope with it. You don't have to be crying every day. You don't have to have a vice. You don't have to have something to numb the pain. You can actually allow yourself. It's okay. I learned in therapy, it's okay to feel pain. It's okay to to feel upset, angry, pissed off. It's okay. Let yourself feel that, but then get busy in doing something for yourself because at the end of the day, you came in this world on your own. So it's about you living your life. So make the people in your life that are important to you, make them feel good. Like show up in this world and make them proud. And I know by having conversations like these, I know that every single time I make my mom proud, I know I make my brother proud, and I make my ancestors proud. So thank you all so much for tuning into this sip and chat. Even though my amazing co-host Miss Nexie was busy and involved in her life. I didn't really inform her that I was going to go live, and life happens. I do understand it, but hopefully next week we'll get my wonderful co-host Miss Nexie back. But I didn't want to stop myself from having this conversation while I had it on my spirit. But I want you all to know that anybody who has experienced loss, that it's okay. You can grieve, you can cry, you can be mad, but then allow yourself to get up and to start your life, because that's what it's all about, loved ones. Loving your life, learning to love yourself, and believing in your potential. So, thank you all so much for joining me today for the Sip and Chat. This was a special one, near and dear to my heart. I dedicate today's podcast to my mom and to my brother. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all on the next Sip and Chat. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your evening.